Scott Holliday here, and welcome to a very special director's cut of Plus 2 Wrestling. What is a director's cut? Well, that means that I put out a video already on this channel, and then that video was blocked by YouTube for some reason. So I have to go in and I have to re-edit it, and I add new content. Now, the video that this happened with was about Mick Foley. It came out a few weeks ago. And honestly, that wasn't the video I wanted to put out. There was always supposed to be more content to that video, but I ran out of time and I put it up early. So this is, in fact, the full vision for that video. The reason it's blocked, though, I find kind of interesting. I included some fan footage of when Mick Foley lost his ear in Germany. And because I used that footage, I got a copyright claim from the Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull podcast. So it's very interesting that that fan footage is now owned by the WWE, and old Scott Holliday can't use it. So this is the full vision for this video. That's a bit of a strong word. It's still a very silly video, but I hope you enjoy it. This will be old footage, you can tell because my hair will be longer, and some new footage that I've included to really complete this video. So please enjoy this director's cut of this video, and let's jump on my soapbox. On my soapbox, I was looking back at this past weekend when I recorded this. I don't know if this is going to go up in time, so this might be a few weeks ago at this point. But this past weekend for me, I was on the call for CZW's 27th anniversary, which also included DJ and RSP's Ultra Violent Adventure, where we crowned a brand new Ultra Violent champion in a 6-way scramble death match featuring Lucky 13, Jimmy Lloyd, Eric Ryan, Hoodfoot, Nick Gage, and Slack. It was a fantastic time. You can watch that show right now on IWTV. But that got me thinking, now that we have this title that hasn't been seen in CZW for years, what other deathmatch titles are there? Maybe today on the soapbox, I would give you the history of a deathmatch title, the most prestigious deathmatch championship. Because there's a lot of deathmatch tournaments. You got Tournament of Death, King of the Kill, Tournament of Survival. But what about actual belts, actual titles? Like you have the DMDU World Deathmatch Championship. You got the BJW Deathmatch Heavyweight title. But I don't know if those are the most prestigious in that they're not very mainstream. Not a lot of people know about those, so I don't know if that would be considered the most prestigious. The most prestigious would have to be something that everyone knew about, you know? Something that was in the wrestling lexicon, something like the Iron Man Championship or the WWE Hardcore title. But if I really think about those titles, I remember Mick Foley saying how much he hated the 24/7 rule. I know he's the one that in kayfabe introduced the 24/7 title, but he has gone on the record and said that he cared about that hardcore championship. And when they added the 24/7 stipulation to it, it's a title that he had kind of built becoming a joke. And I have a lot of respect for Mick Foley. I mean, the man lost an ear for the wrestling business, and I've always respected him for that. You know, I actually remember Mick Foley went on a talk show. He was doing a tour for his book, and the host actually gave him an ear in a jar and said, "We found your ear. We want to give this to you." And I thought that was a disgusting act. Like, you're kind of mocking the fact that he has a disability. Like, you wouldn't give the guy from 128 Hours a fake arm. No one's giving that to James Franco. That's a rude thing to do. We don't know who has Mick Foley's ear right now. That got me thinking. Mick Foley is the hardcore legend. He is a death match legend. And what if in that match where he lost an ear, the person he was wrestling won his ear? What if Mick Foley's ear was a championship. And if we went back, who would currently be the Mick Foley's ear champion? So that's what we're doing today. This is the history of the Mick Foley's ear championship. So the rules of this are going to be very simple. When Mick Foley loses his ear in this match, the person who wins that match will be considered the champion of the ear. And then I will go through and see any time that they lose a match, and that will count as losing the ear championship. And we're going championship rules. I mean, it is supposed to be a deathmatch title, so you can't lose it by disqualification or by count out or anything like that. We're talking pinfall, submission, or any other definitive victory. Like, you can lose this title by being thrown in a casket match, or having your opponent escape during a cage match. A definitive victory wins you the ear title. We're also okay with multi-man matches, like you can lose the title in a fatal four-way or a triple threat match. It doesn't have to be one-on-one, but we are going to take out any tag matches, and we're going to take out any like battle royals or royal rumbles if we end up in that situation, because that seems a bit unfair to have the title on the line in those situations where so many other things depend on whether or not you win that match. So straight up contests of skill and definitive victories is what's going to earn you Mick Foley's ear. Now we are going to have to go all the way back to 1994 to start this one. We are actually nearing the 32nd anniversary of Mick Foley losing his ear. So we have a lot of history to go through. So apologies if this ends up being a two-part episode. So let's get into it. Mick Foley famously lost his ear in a European Cup quarterfinal match against Vader. Now, according to Mick Foley's book, what ended up happening was Vader was actually very ill during this match. And Mick Foley, as Cactus Jack, had a maneuver that he would do where he would run towards the ropes and flip through them and end up in a hangman position. Now, he explains in his book that unbeknownst to him before the match, they had tightened the ropes to max tightness because the people in the match before him actually complained that the ropes were too loose. So usually when Mick performs this move, he's able to get a few seconds of his feet dangling and then is able to slip his head out. Because the ropes were so tight, it actually compressed his ear and started to rip at the flesh. You can actually see the moment where he loses his ear when he's actually throwing strikes against Vader. But this means that Vader is now your Mick Foley's ear champion. Vader would have a very short run with Mick Foley's ear. He would actually rack up 2 ear defenses before losing it, defending it against Max Payne and Ric Flair at house shows. But then would come the finals of the European Cup, and Vader would lose to Sting, which means Sting not only unified Mick Foley's ear with the European Cup, but Mick Foley was also unifying it with the WCW International World Heavyweight title, which Sting was holding at the time. Sting would be a fighting Mick Foley's ear champion with 7 successful defenses. First defending against Diamond Dallas Page, then defending it against Lord Steven Regal 6 times in a row at various house shows. That is until he faced Rick Rude, who captured the WCW International World Heavyweight title along with Mick Foley's ear in a WCW New Japan Pro Wrestling combined show in Japan, making this a very international title, Mick Foley's ear. And this is a famous match because in this match, Sting hits a tope suicida, and when Rick Rude catches him, he's standing on a platform because in Japan they tended to elevate the ring a bit. This resulted in Rick Rude landing on the edge of the platform, which will end up being the reason that this is Rick Rude's final singles match. Wait, really? Yeah. Oh. So, remember how I said we weren't going to count tag matches? We're gonna count tag matches. Yeah, we're gonna count tag matches. So Rick Rude holds the championship for years, up until ECW Heatwave 1997. This is where Rick Rude has his final match ever. It is a tag team contest where Jerry Lawler, Rob Van Dam, and Sabu challenge Rick Rude, the Sandman, and Tommy Dreamer, which ends with a no contest. Which means Rick Rude is technically still the champion. And that is the history of the Mick Foley's Ear title. I guess that's the end of the video. Actually, no, let's not end the video here. There's got to be something else that wrestlers could compete for that is of great importance that we can track down and see who currently holds it. Some big prize that everyone's looking for, not just in wrestling, but maybe even the government would want to see because of how important it is. What's something that is a key to every... Remember when we had a match for Vince McMahon's lockbox? And there was a match to see who held the key to that lockbox? We never found out what was in the lockbox. So I ask you, who currently holds the key to Vince McMahon's lockbox? So this all started at WrestleMania 32, where Shane McMahon battled The Undertaker in a Hell in the Cell match. If Shane McMahon won, he would become the new GM of Raw. And if Shane lost, he would lose the key to whatever is in Vince McMahon's lockbox. And Shane did in fact lose. He still became the GM of Raw because rules don't matter, but they matter to me. So the holder of the lockbox key is The Undertaker. Now The Undertaker will hold that key for an entire year until he goes into WrestleMania 33, The Ultimate Thrill Ride. That was like the gimmick name for WrestleMania that year. And lost in a no-holds-barred match to Roman Reigns. Yes, we all remember when Roman Reigns put down The Undertaker. And then he went to Monday Night Raw the very next night. Got booed for 10 minutes straight. Then looked down the camera and went, "It's my lockbox key now." Roman would lose that key almost immediately to Braun Strowman at Payback 2017. But don't worry, Roman would win it back almost immediately in a street fight at a live event. Roman, now a two-time key holder, would lose the key to Samoa Joe on Monday Night Raw. Samoa Joe would carry that key all the way to WWE Great Balls of Fire. Remember that pay-per-view? In that match, he lost that key when he attempted to wrestle away the Universal title from Brock Lesnar. This is when Brock was doing that very long title reign and was only defending the title part-time. So he unifies the lockbox key with the Universal title and will go on to hold that lockbox key until SummerSlam 2018, where he will lose it to 3-time key holder Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. Just quick note here. The rules are, of course, that it has to be a one-on-one match. Like, there's not tag matches, or it's not going to be Royal Rumbles. We're not counting those things. But I do want to shout out that on Raw, there is a 2-on-1 handicap match where Roman defends the key against Drew McIntyre and Shane McMahon. So it's nice to see that Shane tried one more time to get that key back. But Roman Reigns would hold that key for quite some time. He would not lose it until 2019. Who do you think Roman Reigns lost to in 2019? His last loss was years ago at this point, and now he has the key, and he loses it to Eric Rowan. Remember when he had a feud with Eric Rowan? I don't remember that he had a feud with Eric Rowan until I was doing research for this. He loses the key to Eric Rowan at WWE Clash of Champions 2019. But don't worry, he wins it back the next night at a live show in a street fight to become a 4-time key champion. I mean, he could have a key party at this point. I wonder if that's why CM Punk said what he said about him. In any case, he would then lose the key on Friday Night SmackDown to King Corbin. Don't worry, he wins it back the very next night at a house show. 5-time lockbox key holder. This is, of course, when Roman Reigns then basically goes into God mode. This is when he disappears a little bit during the pandemic. Then he comes back and wins the championship from Bray Wyatt and then doesn't lose for a very, very long time until he suffers his first singles loss at WrestleMania 40 Night 2 to Cody Rhodes in a Bloodline Rules match. Roman had a lot of time with that key. He could have done a lot of things with that key, but now it is in the hands of Cody Rhodes, who will hold it for 1 year until he drops the key along with the championship to John Cena at WrestleMania 41. But don't worry, Cody then wins it back at SummerSlam and becomes a 2-time key holder, but would then lose it to Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel in the match where Seth injures his shoulder, which means your current Lockbox champion is Seth Rollins. But I don't know if that really fits the criteria of what this video was originally about. Like, I was talking about the CZW Ultra-Violent Championship when this all started. There's got to be like a very violent championship we can talk about. A deathmatch championship. Perhaps a Texas deathmatch championship. Perhaps a Texas chainsaw deathmatch championship. Let's look back at history and let's find out who currently holds this AEW Texas Chainsaw Deathmatch Championship. So on the infamous 202nd episode of AEW Dynamite, for some reason, money. It's money. They introduced a Texas Chainsaw Deathmatch Championship, and it was fought for by Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy. And the match was won by Jeff Jarrett. So Jeff Jarrett is your champion. Rules are the same. We're not going to say it has to be a death match for the title to be defended. Any singles match, no multi-mans, no extreme multi-mans. We could still do triple threats and things like that, but no battle royals, no tag team matches. Who's the current champion? Well, Jeff Jarrett loses the title to Rey Fenix when Rey Fenix is defending the international title. So he actually merges the international title with the Texas Chainsaw Deathmatch Championship. Rey Fenix would hold it until Title Tuesday on the 210th edition of Dynamite, when he drops it to Orange Cassidy. Now, this is where Orange Cassidy kind of goes God mode and is just constantly defending the international title and just pecking up win after win after win until he finally drops the international title along with the Texas Deathmatch title to his now friend Roderick Strong at AEW Revolution 2024. Roderick would hold the title until Double or Nothing 2024, a show that I was at in Vegas, when he loses the title to Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay would then lose the title to MJF at an episode of Dynamite, episode 250 of Dynamite. And this is when MJF changes the international title to the American title, which makes a lot of sense because it's now unified with the Texas Deathmatch title. So that actually made more sense than you thought. In any case, MJF would then lose the title at All In London 2024 to Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay would continue to hold the title until he loses it in a triple threat match to Takeshita at WrestleDream 2024. Takeshita would hold that title until he loses it to the God, Kenny by God Omega at Revolution 2025. Of course, Kenny would then lose the title at the winner takes all match where Okada would capture the AEW Unified title, the Continental title, the International title, and of course, the Texas Deathmatch title. Okada would then enter the Continental Classic. So by the rules, every match in the Continental Classic that has the championship is still a championship match. So, Okada loses it to Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher will then later lose it at Winter Is Coming to Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey will then lose it at Holiday Batch to Jack Perry. And then Jack Perry will then give it back to Kyle Fletcher at Christmas Collision. He will then lose the title in the semifinals of the Continental Classic to Jon Moxley to keep the Texas Deathmatch title combined with the Continental title, and Jon Moxley is your current Texas Chainsaw Deathmatch champion. And you know what? Well earned. If anyone should be the Texas Deathmatch champion, Texas Chainsaw Deathmatch champion, it's Jon Moxley for sure. So there you have it. There's three very unique titles. That's who currently holds Mick Foley's ear, the lockbox to Vince McMahon's lockbox, or the key rather to Vince McMahon's lockbox, and of course, the Texas Chainsaw Deathmatch Championship. What other titles should I look into the history of and see who would currently hold that championship? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, on the channel, I'm trying to get really into shorts, so be sure to check out the shorts page and also check me out on Instagram. I'm posting those over there as well. Thank you so much for watching this director's cut video on Plus 2 Wrestling, and I hope you have a great day.